shine. Light up the day. Take this pain that pulls me under. Doubt that takes me over.
All right, joining us today, Mr. Ray Prim. Good to see you. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks again for being here. So let's kind of jump in, and obviously this will air probably a few weeks from now, but this is just minutes ago they declared for Biden. So quite a big time in the country right now. But I'm more interested in you, Mr. Ray Prim, as a artist and soul singer of many different genres. But let's go back to mid-March and kind of tell us where you were artistically and where you were headed into the spring and the summer, what you had planned for yourself. And since all that got crushed like the rest of us, what have you been up to since then?
Yeah, man, I just finished an album called Soul Riders in the Soul Riders Diary. Just finished it. Just had a CD release February 28th. And you know, I do the normal things. I'm not like, I don't tour and stuff anymore. I did that for like 12 years. And so mainly I just play around town and just to keep myself sane. But I never thought it was going to shut me down to where I don't play any shows. You know what I mean? I usually play shows that I want to play. I have a full-time job. But the fact that I wasn't going to play anywhere was it's weird, man. I've never done that in like 20 years. I've never really got to the point where I couldn't play anywhere. So it took a toll on us. I haven't played with our keyboard player since that show. We hadn't played as a full band since February 28th. And I just now started playing 2 shows with the guys, which is a little bit easier. And I played some stuff with the strings. But yeah, man, it kind of threw me for a loop for a second. But I had a full-time job, so I'm not one of these musicians that were like, you know, it really hit me financially that hard. I mean, I had to. What sucked is I had a loan that I took out, man, and I'm paying some other stuff. So you know that kind of hit me a little bit like that, but. As far as writing, and then it also made me start writing again. So I wrote another album within the pandemic called Gray, and that was a great experience. I like that album a lot. So it forced me to write about a lot of different topics. So I dug that part of it though.
Well, it's nice that at least you got to squeeze in your album release before all this shit went down. So that's one positive. But you said you took out a loan. Was that loan based in, you know, putting that towards the art form and stuff like that?
Crazy. That's a crazy thing. And so I had this credit card. I don't know if I should be putting my business out there. I had this credit card that I didn't know had freaking 26% interest rate on it, right?
Okay,
and so I set it up for automatic pay, $50, but every month they were charging me $126. So I had it just kind of sitting there, you know, and it just one day I looked at my thing, I was like, Jesus Christ, why do I owe this much money? And so what I did, I have a good standing with a bank. And so I went and borrowed from the bank that gave me amount of loan. With the interest was like 3%, 4%. Got that and then started paying off that. So I just got it. I was like, well, I just paid off with my gig money. I'll be okay. You know?
Yeah, it sucks,
gig money
bro.
gone. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
So that started coming out of my check a month. But I mean, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But
Sure.
Learn.
So
Everybody learn. Even though you set your stuff up on auto pay, make sure you check that interest rate because you might not be paying on the principal. You know what I mean?
Man, that shit's dangerous. If you keep your eye on that, you could be in trouble. But you've been able to spend a lot of time writing during the COVID lockdown. Obviously, if you're working full time, that's probably still, you know, very normal for you. But then not playing any shows like the rest of us, you're putting that energy into writing new stuff.
Yeah, well, you don't have to get like. You know, when we playing shows, I mean, I would play like 1 or 2 shows a month. So you're really you're getting songs. You know, like I've been in a songwriting group for the longest time. So I've got like hundreds of songs just sitting there that I've got it on my computer that I started. You have a week to write. You don't really flesh them out, you know? So just sitting there. And then when you got a band, you may be working on a song for a month. I mean, just so I can really get it down, you know? So you don't really show anybody new stuff. So I was like, man, now I got all this time. Why don't I go revisit some of these songs that either didn't make it to the album or didn't whatever? So I sat there and I picked, I picked 8 out of the I think I picked 8. Matter of fact, I'm doing another one right now. as we're talking. Like I'm working on another one right now. So I picked 8 songs and just fleshed them out and figured out a way to record. I had the strings in my other room for the pandemic. They had masks on in another room. I was in the ghetto lounge in here. I bought like long cords so I could put them in a whole different room. I bought all this other stuff. Had the guitar, but I learned something though. Recording in my living room that makes great sound for the guitar, great sound for the strings. So I have the best sound I have on this album as far as strings wise. So I realized what
Wow.
I had to do. It sounds. I have vaulted ceilings in there, so I put it in there
Mm,
instead of my ghetto lounge, and it just made the string sound bigger. So I looked out. I figured something out. So, I mean, everything has a silver lining if you really look at it. You know what I mean?
definitely. It's funny you say it because I was obviously it's been months now, but somewhere in the middle there, I don't remember when I was just wanted to record some acoustic stuff at my home too, and I found just like this corner of the bedroom had this amazing. I don't understand why. I still don't understand why, but it has this amazing sound to it. Just when you're going one mic on an acoustic, and
Yeah.
even vocally, because usually my past experience with like a bedroom or something, you can tell it's in a room. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
has that room feel.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. Yeah.
some reason, it did not have that. I don't understand why it's like that, because to me it just looks like a standard room. But I kind of had a similar discovery,
How close are
just
you
messing
putting your
around the house.
microphone? How close are you putting your
The,
microphone?
the microphone to the guitar or to the
Yeah, to
vocals.
acoustic. To the acoustic.
On this one, I was doing a 50. I think I was doing a 58 or 57, kind of one right at the 12th fret and pointed down, and then one at the hole. I think that's how I recorded it on this one, which is how I
Okay.
like to record my acoustics. But yeah, no, it's not. I don't do. I did do it like a farther away with kind of more of a condensed, nicer mic. But for me, when I record my acoustic, I seem to just always get the sound I like when I just do two mics, one kind of the 58 right in front of it, and then one kind of pointed down at the
Mm.
12th fret. I That just work gets whatever. But so one thing I'm always interested in, and one of the most fun parts of doing this podcast, is kind of getting to learn people's backstory and root
Mm.
structure, not only musically but personally. So, can you tell us not only where you're from, but where you get your musical chops from, where you get your influences from, when you started playing guitar, when you started singing, and all that good stuff?
Okay, that's that's a lot. So I moved here from Poughkeepsie, New York in 1992, and I was gonna play. I started high school in Lifts High School. I was gonna play football and all that stuff, but that didn't work out. I didn't want to play football anymore. So when I got down here, I was like, I wasn't really, I didn't do a lot of music stuff. I just kind of went to this Depeche Mode concert, and before then I loved rap. I listened to like a lot. I still listen to rap. I mostly listen to rap. If I'm listening to something, people see me on my Facebook page or whatever, it's all rap. But I was like, well, rap is not going to work for me. I'm not a good rapper. I suck at it. I'm too corny when it comes to rapping. And then so I went to a Depeche Mode concert, and I saw this guy on stage and the love that they were giving him. And I was like, man, this is actually pretty cool, man. Like this is pretty cool. So I had these Casio keyboards at my house. I was trying to make rap beats off a Casio. Another reason why my shit was corny. Okay, sorry if I might curse sometimes. You can bleep it out.
No, cursing's good. Totally
Okay.
allowed. Totally
Okay.
allowed. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, so I was playing this cursing. So I was doing like doom 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 doing this stuff, and I was like, I can't play the other keyboard. So what I'm gonna do? So my upstairs neighbor Laura, I used to make her come down, and she could actually play piano a little bit. So I had my little tape recorder recording us and trying to make songs. And sooner or later, I got on her nerves. And she's like, my boyfriend plays guitar. Why don't you get with him? And I never thought about like singing anything or getting to a band. So he came one over one time and he showed me this song. He played an acoustic. And then I realized it's just something you don't realize you can do, right? He started
Mhm.
playing and I started humming something and kind of singing, off this thing. He said, what melody is that? I was like, I don't know. So I just realized I can just make melodies, right? And then when she started doing that, I was like, okay. So for the longest time, I didn't pick up a guitar or anything. And then he was like, well, let's start a band. And he wanted me to play bass, and it was rock and roll, which I wasn't too familiar. I was kind of familiar with, but I wasn't really familiar with. So he was like, let's you play bass and I play guitar. I was like, man, I can't play bass, but he's like, I'll teach you. So I started playing bass and stuff like that, and man, that bass was all heavy on my neck when practice, and I was like, man, I don't want to be trying to play this heavy ass thing and singing. So he was like, find a bass player. So he found a bass player. Man, next thing you know, we had Seven Stones. That's the band I was in for the longest time. That's the band I toured in the most. But it was rock and roll. It still really wasn't me. It was me trying to sing over like hard riff guitars and stuff like that, you know? And then my voice just didn't deal with it. I was like, I like to sing soft sometimes. I like to do what I need to do. So once I went to the next concert that changed my life, I went to a Damien Rice concert. And I've always loved Bill Withers, you know, and I was getting more into that. And so, so when the guy left the band, I needed to learn how to play guitar. I started writing my own songs. So I went and found a Beatles book, and it's called The Complete Beatles Book. And all I did was learn all those songs in there, just so I could learn to sing and play at the same time. And those chords, you know, once you do something 1,000 times, their chord progression, how they write melodies, it just kind of stuck in my head. So I learned how to write melodies and play guitar. And then I felt like I'm missing something. Oh, so then once that was done, I went to see Damien Rice, and I was like, okay, enough of this electric guitar stuff. I can't do this anymore. So I left the band, found my violin player at a violin shop when I was taking my acoustic guitar in to get fixed, because I was looking for a cellist. I just wanted to be me and a cellist. I'll write simple songs. She'll make it beautiful. We'll be good, you know. And I found my violin player, and it just went from there, man. I just found this sound, and I was like, you know, this is the sound I want to do. This is gonna work. I was like, and it just kind of evolved. You just kind of let it evolve, you know. I started where it was this. I was writing the violin lines, and then I got another violin player, and then I got a keyboard player, and now I finally got my electric guitar player who was from Seven Stones. He came and joined me. And the crazy thing about this whole thing, when I finally get the exact sound, which is 8 people still, but you know, if you look at concerts and look at a lot of soul bands, they have a lot of people on stage anyway. But I finally got the sound that I wanted, and then COVID hit. We played 2 shows with that full band, New Year's Eve and that February 28th. And then who goes up for me? New Year's Eve and February 28th. And then that was it. And so I haven't been able to play with that full band since then. It's just crazy.
That's
it's like
amazing.
I finally got it.
Oh man, that's a bummer. But it's also, I mean, that's pretty awesome that you were able to find a sound that was eluding you for so long and find it with that kind of lineup, which is a very unique lineup. 2 violins and you know, pros and cons to it. You found it and then it was taken from you, which of course sucks. But so age-wise, it sounded like you're kind of late teens, early 20s when that Depeche Mode and then your own music kind of Seven Stones started. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it started when I let me see, when did I graduated? I came down here for 2 years. I didn't do any kind of music. So I think it started when I was 22. Is when he found me, but I didn't pick up an instrument until I was 26. Because I did 4 years where I was just the lead singer. That's all I did. I didn't play any instruments. And then it got to a point where I knew that me and the guitar player for Seven Stones, the same guy who I started the band with, we were bumping heads, you know. We were bumping heads because what happened, I started like kind of picking up the guitar. It's like, because when you, I think you may notice that when you're the singer of a band, you have to rely on them to give you something to sing over. And I was getting tired of these different time signatures. I was like, I can't really land on anything. There's nothing I can really sing. There's no chords that are supporting me. So then I was like, okay. So then I bought a cheap a guitar from Mexico, and the action was about like that high. It was ridiculous, man. And this goes back to my Beatles thing. It looked like Paul McCartney's cello bass. Cello guitar, you know his bass that looks like shaped like a violin.
Yeah, oh yeah, for
well,
sure.
That's what
yeah,
the guitar looked like, and that's why I bought it.
Oh really?
I didn't think anything about the action. I was like, God, this guitar is hard to play. So I started writing some songs, and we played a lot in drop D. So drop D was kind of easier for me. So I started playing some songs that had nicer, better melodies over it. And then the guys in Seven Stones were like, "Hey man, I like this melody. We can write around this." And so me and the other guy started bumping heads because he wanted to write in this direction, and plus he wanted to tour, and I wanted to write in a more soulful kind of melody-based direction with some guitars on it, and we just bumped heads. So once he left, I was like, okay, I got to step up my game. So I started playing more, writing more, and that's how I got to that part. I forgot what the question was. Sometimes I ramble on. And I forget what.
No, no, it was just kind of you answered it, and that's the whole point of this thing is to allow one to ramble within their own
Oh, okay.
their own history. I
Oh,
enjoy hearing that, but
I
yeah, it
remember
was kind of
now.
the age, just getting it. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember now. So right around 26 is when he left, and I had to start writing. So that's when I started. I got my electric. She's behind the curtain. Got electric guitar and all that stuff, and then was trying to play the electric guitar, and I was like, all this distortion. But once again, I was like saying this distortion was drowning me out. It's like
yeah,
it's too much. I
yeah.
don't have this voice. So I was like, I finally decided right around when I was Seven Stones went from 20 till I was 26 till I was 32, I think. I think it's 32. Somewhere around there. We went for 12 years. I'm terrible at math.
Wow, that's a good
So we
run.
went for 12 years, and then after that, I was like, I'm done. And then I started another band called Prim, and I didn't really sell my guitar, electric guitar yet, the electric guitar I had at the time. And I had a Rickenbacker too. I sold that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy myself an acoustic guitar. That's when I saw Damien Rice, and the rest is history. And just built on as I went. Just kind of built.
How long did that Beatles education last? How long was that? Was that like a year? Was it 6 months, 2 years?
Oh, for me writing, learning all the songs.
Yeah,
Man, you know how when you first start playing guitar, you do it every year. I mean, unlike Jackie, like Jackie still probably practices. Jackie Vincent probably still practices 2 days a year, 2 hours a day, but she probably practices 6 hours. But I was man, I got head on. I should put it like this: I should be better at guitar than I am, as much as I practiced with that Beatles book. I think I did that for 6 months straight, for
mm,
like 4 or 5 hours a day. I just been there learning the songs and playing the songs, driving my roommates crazy, because you know how it is when you hit the wrong chord, and they're like, Please stop playing it." But I did it for like 6 or 7 months straight, and then I started writing my own stuff, like really from front to beginning, where I could play it by myself. That was my goal back then. I was like, I just want to be able to go to an open mic and be able to play with acoustic guitar by myself and not want to throw up, scared. And so, once I got that, man, um,
that's a good way to do it, man. I always love hearing about how people kind of, I don't know, crack the whip on themselves. And I couldn't think of a better way for someone who's interested in stepping away from a loud, rock and roll
yeah,
vibe to the songwriting and just spending 6 months with the Beatles catalog. I mean, that's awesome. And the fact that you did it 4 or 5 hours, I mean, I remember for me, there was a turning point where like I started out with playing guitar when I was 15, and I was a good practicer throughout my late teens and high school. Like I practiced anywhere from on average 15 to 20, 30 minutes a day, some days off, some days an hour. But then I got to a point, I remember somebody I knew who wasn't a musician. He was just a good friend. And he's like, yeah, I got this roommate who, he wasn't very good. And then he just started practicing like 5 hours a day. And now he's really good. And it's so weird. Like that literally sparked something in me. I was like, whoa, maybe I need to do that. So I
yeah,
did that. And it actually came about through circumstance where I had an opportunity where I could really, but then I started doing that for years because I fell in love with practice, and the results you get when you put 4 or 5 hours in are so drastic compared to the half hour a day schedule.
yeah.
So, you know,
Well, when I
not
say five
go.
hours, I would start. I never sat down in a day. I never sat down for more than like an hour and a half, because
Sure,
after
no,
a
you can
while,
break it up, of
yeah. But
course.
that's what I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
do. I'd be like, and then another thing would drive people crazy, is I would practice watching TV. So my guitar would
I
be in my
do that
hand.
too, man. That's a great way
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I practice, and also I tell people, my string players laugh at me, but when I play guitar and I'm working on stuff with music and I'm playing, especially when I'm practicing a song, I like to go in and turn the TV up because it helps me focus on what I'm doing. So when I go play crowds or loud clubs, it ain't nothing to me because I'm used to
mm,
background noise. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes when it's supposed to be something like real intimate and the rest of the room, what really bugs me is if the rest of the room is dead quiet and you've got two people talking. That is annoying. Like I will
yes,
call that
yes.
out if I'm at a show because it's annoying for me because the rest of these people paid to see us and these people aren't respecting the rest of these people's money. You know what I mean? But if the whole
Right.
crowd is, if I'm playing a whole place and the whole place is talking, and it does not bug me. It does not bug me, man. I get used to playing TV, and it drives. I mean, it drives my girlfriend crazy because I'm in there like, how are you watching TV and playing guitar and working on a song? That's what I'm doing. But that's what I would do. I'd do like 2 hours here, and then I would practice until I got the song. Now I never really
Hmm.
practiced guitar. It's not like I practice my scales and all that stuff. I would practice learning a song so I could
Hmm.
play it. So man, I knew a lot of. I don't know them anymore. My memory's gone, but I know a lot of the Beatles songs, and that's from me being able to. Without, I was like, I'm gonna practice this song until I don't need the lyrics or the words called. I learned that 2 hours, whatever. Come back to it. I'd start in the morning, lunch, and that's one of the 7 stones. I didn't have a job, so start in the morning, lunch, and then take my guitar on the road with us when we went on the road, in the back of the van playing at the hotel, working on this Beatles song and stuff like that. Like sometimes, man, like, why don't you need to be working on our set instead of the Beatles? You need to be learning our shit. That's like my bad, dog. Oh
Well,
man.
that's good, man. I mean, that's like biblical. I mean, that's like if you're a literary scholar and you're, reading the Bible or the Odyssey every day, it's like learning the Beatles in and out.
Oh yeah.
That's biblical work. So kudos on that. But yeah, I remember I haven't had a TV at the crib for, I mean, I still watch a ton of shit on my computer, obviously, but I haven't had a TV at the house for years. But I remember in those stages when I was taking jumps up in skill and everything, is for me, I couldn't really, I don't think I was doing much writing in front of the TV, but just like hammering home the finger stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
getting
yeah.
the fingers moving and practicing stuff. Love doing that in front of the TV back in the day for sure. So you moved to Austin, you say, and around the high school age or right after high school?
I moved to Austin, and I used to, man, I used to go on radio when back 7 Stones was touring and all that stuff. I go on radio station telling them, yeah, I came down here for the music scene and blah 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 blah. But that's not why I came down here. And I've told this 1,000 times, so I might as well come close. It's gonna be like some radio station in Atlanta. That fool was lying. Um, I came down here because it was during the summer and I was graduating, and I was like, where am I gonna move? And I visited a friend in Austin, Texas, and I visited a friend in Austin, Texas, and we went to this sorority. It was either for sorority or fraternity house. I don't know what it was, but I was sitting on the swing set, and I was swinging back and forth like this, and making eye contact with this girl. It's like, oh yeah, she's a cool girl, and I went and drank a drink, and the swing broke. It broke, man, and we were on this porch, and I rolled all the way down the hill. Like I hit the
My.
bottom of the hill. I was like, just made a fool out of myself. I got grass stains on me and stuff. This girl comes running down the hill. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? It's like, yeah, I'm all good. Oh, I said something corny. I know I said something corny. Probably said something like, it's your beauty that knocked me out. I don't know what I said. And short story short, long story short, we hooked up. Okay. I go back to New York and I tell my boys and them, it's like, man, you can fall out of swings down in Texas and pick up a girl. I'm out. And I was like, I'm gone. It's like, you know what I'm saying? And beautiful girls. It's like, man, I just fell out of a swing, didn't do no lines, and hooked up. So I was like, I'm out. I'm coming down to Austin. And it must have been like 2 or 3 years before I even hooked up again. I was like, and that's before I knew how. I mean, I lived in Texas before, but man, the summers. Oh Lord, have mercy. I forgot how the summers were. And that's how I ended up in Austin, Texas. And that was
So you
like, that's
moved
why.
down here for trim. You
Yep.
moved down
I ain't
here.
gonna lie to you. Just keep it real.
I love it. I love it, man. I mean, where
I
else
came down
is
here because
someone
I
that
thought,
age's head at?
you.
S-
I was 20.
of
I was
course.
21. No, whatever.
Yeah,
When I was
man.
20. Whatever.
Nothing else
91 is
matters.
21. Yeah, that's funny.
So, and you've stayed the whole time. So, I mean, obviously, if you weren't capitalizing right away on the reasons that you did move down here, there was other things keeping you here. So you've lived in Austin all this time for
Since
those
90.
since then.
Yep. Since 91. Yep.
So you
And
must really like it.
I loved it because it's unlike New York where I live, Poughkeepsie. This felt like a younger town. Like there were so many younger because of the university, And
Right.
I was gonna try to go to college and become a commercial artist and all that stuff. And so I mean, I liked. I had the college life. My dad got me an apartment down here. They were still in New York, and I liked it. And then but what made me really stay is the music. Because eventually, I got into music 2 or 3 years later. But that's not why I came down here. And then once this one time I almost considered moving to LA because I was like, man, Seven Stones, we need to relocate. We're touring everything, but we're still not happening. And I looked for some places, but man, luckily it was too expensive for me to do that.
Yeah.
So I stayed
Yeah,
here.
it's funny you say that. My wife and daughter and I were planning on moving to Los Angeles in June, and that we postponed 6 months, which brings us pretty much to right now. And then we've decided to stay another year and maybe indefinitely now because there's a lot of reasons. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, Kelly's not doing too great right now. There's just a lot of issues that they're dealing with in Los Angeles between
And
the
it's just so
economy and the
expensive,
fires.
man.
Yeah, the expensiveness, of course.
It's so.
But so kind of going back to what you're saying about Seven Stones, you said you spent a lot of time on the road. So were you guys touring the US, touring the region for chunks of years?
Man, we would do the region, East Coast, West Coast, region, East Coast, West Coast. We did. I think we did. Maybe did one or two. I can't remember. Most of it's region though. We did most of our
Yeah.
Houston, San Antonio, New Mexico, Dallas, a lot of Dallas, like Houston, a lot of stuff. Because I mean, if you can build up a following in that in Texas, you can handle yourself. Then we went to L.A. one time. We played out there. Did we play in L.A. or did we just go out there? We went and recorded in Seattle, and I think we went up and played in L.A. I can't remember, but we did the East Coast mostly, and then man, I can't remember. But most of it was regional touring. It was mostly regional touring, and
Hmm.
we did that. Like I rarely was in town on the weekend. We stayed during the week, work, rehearsal. And three of us lived in the same house. We did the full time. I didn't have a job for like 12 years, a real job.
That's beautiful.
But
And
we did the
and so
full.
how did that life suit you? I mean, my guess is it was pretty rad
When you're younger,
for the
it's
chunk of it. Yeah, and then it gets
yeah.
a little old.
You know what I'm saying? Ramen noodles and bad eating and McDonald's and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And it's I didn't have a car. I didn't have a car, anything, man. I was thinking about, I was like, man, I, one year I think I reported I made $7,000, something like that, in a year. But I never felt poor. I mean, because you never
Yeah.
pay for your. I mean, when we're in home, I would go down to the Ritz or the Steamboat or whatever, and they would comp me drinks, and
Hmm.
then you're young, you're just eating a hot dog, or you make eggs, or you make. So then my mom then finally moved here, so she would they would give me money to fill up the cabinets and stuff. So I didn't have a full time. Well, no, when I started the band, that's another thing. The band broke me and one of my girlfriends up because I was doing that so much, man. It kind
Hmm.
of got in the way of a relationship. I feel bad for her, because I just started playing guitar and we were dating, and every time I come over to her house, I bring this guitar. Every time she wanted to do something, we watch a movie, I got this guitar. She went through the brunt of it, man. Like, "Well, let's go here. No, I gotta go to practice. I gotta go to band." And this is when bands, you remember bands would practice like 3 times a week, not this 1 or 2 times a month thing. We practice Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, and then go play Monday, Wednesday. I mean, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, we practiced. That's probably one of the tighter bands I've been in, like as far as how tight we were. But now we practice like once a month or something like that.
I know, man. I think part of it is if you're starting a new project, you have to chip off the old block. So you got to get those early practices in. But once you get the product foundation tight and you've been playing for a while and you have a process for developing, new material, you don't need to revisit those three practice or two practice a week days. But I think, the early days of a band or a project,
Oh yeah.
you got to get in there and rough it up a little bit. But yeah, now it's amazing how efficient I can be with so little practice now. But that also has to do with because I have such a body of work that I can, if I bring in a new musician, I'm like, just listen to that,
Exactly,
listen to
exactly.
this, be ready. We'll have a practice or two, and If it's a really important show, obviously we'll spend a little bit more time tightening it up. But otherwise, it kind of just takes care of it. I crossed this point where I was so obsessed with every little thing being right. You know what I mean? Almost perfectionism to a point with onstage stuff. And then I just hit a point with like, I played these songs 1,000 times. Like if we play it a little differently, it's almost better than playing it the way it's supposed to be exactly. But
I
yeah,
feel you,
you don't
man.
need.
I feel
Yeah.
you. That's exactly how I am. It's like because all our songs have we're not really a jam band, and we have eight people. So if everything isn't in the right spot, it can sound like chaos. It's like
Oh
like
yeah.
I want people to have certain parts, and these parts. The reason why that violin's there because that guitar is there, and they're gonna hit and they're gonna hook. It's like I've got a lot of hooks within hooks and stuff like that. So, but at the same time, I was like, it's and it's okay if we mess. I had to get up. It's like it's okay if we mess up. If I mess up, it's a mess up. If we mess up, it's not the end of the world. This is Austin, Texas. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
Austin is cool like that. Like in New York, I noticed like a lot of stuff. In New York is like these musicians, like everything's like sounds like the record. Austin's a little more
Hmm.
loose than that. Like
Yeah.
a lot of bands are more loose like that. They jam a little bit more. I mean, I still don't really jam, but if it doesn't hit, long as you know the rule. If you don't know what you're doing, just drop out. You know what I'm saying? If you do make a mistake, do it twice. Make it sound like you did it on purpose. Stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Of
So
course, of course. Yeah, and kind of segueing into the size of your band. I'm always, for pretty much the entire time I've been in Austin, my project has been a three-piece band. We've brought in other musicians for recordings and stuff, but it's just been easier for me, and our sound is suitable to it being lean and mean. But I'm always envious and admire a large thing and hope to get to it at some point. But working with such a big band and eight pieces, that's a big band, especially for someone who, as you've kind of said yourself, kind of comes from a humble, a natural progression, a humble late blooming thing where
mhm.
you're not like and I'm a late bloomer musically too. I wasn't raised with, I don't have like this super high musical IQ or, able to arrange all this stuff. So, um, you know, working with a large band, eight people, I mean, I don't even know what question to ask really. So let me just kind of,
How do I make it work?
I mean, not only how do you make it work, but what's kind of let's start with what's your songwriting process? Obviously it starts on your acoustic, but then when you have two violins and you got keys and you got an electric, do you guys just start, you play the song on acoustic form and say, here's the song, now let's try some stuff? Or do you have exact things in mind for each piece?
Man, it really depends on the song. So I've got a little home studio here. And so I've got this thing called Easy Drummer, Easy Keys, Easy Bass, and acoustic and stuff like that. And I have native strings. So let's say if I can't get the girls or ladies over here to work on something, I can write everything. It goes back to what I was saying. I learned early that I can write melodic things, right? So strings to me is that same kind of theory. I know harmonies and all that stuff. So when I'm writing the strings, I've got this MIDI keyboard in front of me, and so I can write an arrangement and just
Hmm.
make it all work because I know I want this to go here, I want this to go there. It's all you kind of can see it visually. I don't know if that makes sense, but you want this to be up
Sure.
here, you want this to be down here, you want them to intersect
Yeah.
right there, and then the guitar you may just want. And I'm all about simple, like everything. I don't want a lot of. I don't need you to show me how great of a guitar player you are. Not with my stuff. I don't need you to show me how badass of a violinist you are or keyboard player. We need simple stuff, and when all that stuff comes together, it's gonna sound complex. And that's just something I
Hmm.
learned. So sometimes if we start off like this latest song that we're doing right now, um, once the violin players kind of know what I like and what I'm expecting, then I sent her the track. I was like, here's the track. I always write the drums because I can't get with the drum player, right? I can't do it. So I always write the drums, and then a lot of times I'll play the bass on the track, and then just kind of get where I kind of basically want the notes, kind of
Hmm.
feel, and then I'll send it to Gucci or I'll send it to Alberto, and then they fancy it up, you know, they'll fancy it up. This last song though, I did the whole thing. Well, anyway, so do that. So once I get that down, once I get the bass, drums, and the melody, and so sometimes I write it on acoustic. Man, sometimes I've been trying to do this thing where I want to see what the drums take me. You know, maybe I'll program the drums and I have a melody and I don't sing off of anything, and then I figure out, well, what chords do I want underneath that melody I just did. You know, so I'll figure that out. I'll patch that out, and the best way for me to patch that out so I can have some cool chords is a piano. Because it's sitting right in front of me and I can see it. You know, I know that A minor is right here. I can see it. If I add this 9 right there, I can see it. You know, so then I'll do that. I'll do that, and then the beautiful thing about Easy Keys is that once you figure out the chords you want, it can give you like different patterns, and it's all MIDI. For me, MIDI is just because if I have MIDI, I can make anything. And so once I get the piano down, I'll switch a note here and there, put the thing there. Same with the chords. Get the bass down, and then once I got that basic thing, the filler, what Pro Tools allows you to do is make a chart. Is it a chart? Is that what it's called? See, I don't know about it. It allows me to write sheet music, so I can send this sheet music over the piano to my piano player, and I tell her, you don't have to play it exactly like this. This is just kind of how I want it, right? So once I send it to the violin player, she'll listen to it, and then she sends me back what she's got. I'll listen to what she gave me, and this last song, Kimbo hit it out. I didn't have to really do anything. She hit it out the park. Like there's a couple parts where it's like, you know what, you should repeat right here so it becomes a hook at the end. Let's move this around here so it's right there, and then send it back to her, and then she lays down my idea, or I'll either sing it in the mic or I'll play it on the keyboard so she knows where I want this down. And she sends it back once I get the strings in there, and she went and got a good microphone. And I kind of showed her how to record. So now she's getting good violin sounds. Enough for where I know the violin's not going to be in the front. It's going to be kind of in the background anyway. So I'm not really worried about it being like the most pristine sound. But she's got it sounding really good. And then once I get that, I send it to my guitar player. So he'll listen to it. And what he does is he sends me ideas over the phone. And so when I hear over the phone, he may go, don't, and I'm like, man, why don't you go don't, stuff like that. We'll do it. It's silly. It sounds silly, but that's what we'll do back and forth on Memo. It's kind of funny. No, don't do it. Don't. I feel like Vanilla Ice. But anyway, we'll be back and going back and forth, and it's like, okay, how's it sound now? Dog, that's it. So then he'll come over here, and again, that's why I like to produce other people's stuff. So one time we have a lick on one of the tracks. He was just warming up. And I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing right there?" He's like, "I'm warming up." I was like, "Play what you just played. Hang on, I'm gonna hit the record. Play what you just like." I don't know what I just played, and I remember what he did. It's like you did this, you did this. Okay, he's learning the part that he was just messing around on. Then we laid it down, and the shit is gold. It's like, man, that's the kind of stuff. So that's how we kind of build it. And then even when you get there, and you get the recording, when we get into the practice, then sometimes things don't, I don't know if you have felt this, but sometimes things just don't translate right live.
Of
you
course.
might have to change things up. You know what I mean? It's like, you might have had so much stuff here in the recording that you could duck, and it just adds texture. But when you're at a practice, it sticks out too much. So we kind of change stuff around. So practice, when we do that, I'm just like a band leader, like a producer at a that tries to surround myself with great players. And so I'll say, why don't y'all violins, instead of, I know you play like that on the record, but just so we have some space and breathing room, don't play at all. Only come in on the chorus and then hit on the chorus. So that helps with the dynamics and stuff like that. And so that's how I do it, man. It's like it kind of helps that I can hear. I can just hear when I'm out of practice. They're like, how do you hear? I just messed up. I was like, no. And it should be the strings, and it'd be one thing, and I can tell it was Steel or it was Kimbo, and I can tell which violin it was. I was like, and what's called, it keeps me grounded as far as like you always, if like with me, like, I don't know, you said you might not know theory. I don't know theory. So I always try to keep somebody in the band that's really smart about that, and that's my keyboard player. And she keeps me grounded. She's always like, you can't play that F9 over the something. Like, Lord have mercy. What can I do? You know what I'm saying? It's like a fishing rod. Nope, that F is not gonna work with that blah 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 because of this. And I was like, oh Jesus. Okay, what do I need to change it to? She's like, and I love the way cause I tell her, it's like, I don't care how I react, just keep coming at me. Cause at first I'm gonna fight back. Cause this sounds great to me. She's like, no, but when I go to this, and then when she breaks it down, and it's a good lesson. It's a good learning lesson. When she breaks it down, then I can hear it. It's like, yeah, that does clash. I was like, okay, you're right. So it's good to have that. And our drummer, he's really good at, what if we, do this time thing here and change it up a little bit here. I know it's like that on the record. And it's just being open. When you play with 8 people, you got to be willing to be open, because you've got to keep them interested. Like, I want them to be invested in the song. So I'll take any opinion that anybody has to tell me. And a lot of times I use it. Sometimes I won't. But I'm really open-minded about that, especially if it's their instrument and they know their instrument and they know how to make it sound good. So
right.
I think you need to do that. I don't write I'm not like an iron fist on everything. It's just, I take ideas and we roll with it, man. You got to do that. I don't see how you could be in a big band and not do that.
Yeah. That's a lot. Unless you're, Duke Ellington or just a master or whatever,
Exactly
but
right.
yeah, no, that sounds like a good way to do it. Well, a couple things on what you just said. One is, it's funny, the over the phone thing, when you said that, I remember hearing that about Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker would play stuff over the phone for each other and then like hang up and come back and like complete each other's musical thoughts and shit. So that popped in my brain when you said that. I remember the first album I did when I broke away from my band was all MIDI stuff, and I hadn't done that before, and it was a great getting into that world. I haven't really accessed that world since I put another band together, but now that we're in COVID, it's like I was dipping back into it.
Man.
But my equipment's kind of a little bit dinosaur. It's kind of old and stuff. But and then going to what you said about keeping smarter people in the band, I've done that as well, right? Like right now, I've got 2 Berkeley grads, and they're kids, but they're Berkeley grads, so it's like good to go on that. I'll take care of the feel, you take care of the
they'll keep you in line too, man. She keeps me and like she reels me in a lot, because I don't know the reason why certain things work, because I don't know the reason why I choose certain chords. She's like, why did you choose that chord and put your finger there? I was like, well, I just kept pushing it and kept figuring out stuff until I sounded great to sound good to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's feel.
So that's exactly. But you need somebody that can say real, and she can talk. She knows it to a T, and Tate understands it when she calls out chords. Like I don't know. Like a lot of times I don't even know what the chords I'm playing, especially when I put it on. Well, I know the chords I'm playing, but when you use the capo, when I use the capo and I move it down, I don't know that. I just know it's still that E minor, formation.
Totally.
But she knows it's the chord, So you need that kind of stuff to communicate. And then when I bring in,
for sure,
because I like to use, sometimes when I use substitutes as far as keyboards, and I use Vince Wiley, and he knows a lot too. But that's how I do it, man.
And then my other question was, how does somebody who grows up listening to rap and then starts getting exposed to other things end up implementing 2 violins? Do you think you were getting that from the Beatles vibe? Because the Beatles had some of that extra unusual instrumentation and stuff, like an orchestral stuff and psychedelic orchestral kind of thing. Where do you think that comes from?
I can tell you exactly where that came from. It's Bill Withers' song, "Don't You Want to Stay." Have you heard that song before?
I have. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
That sound, those violin sounds, I was like, that is so beautiful. And that bass, doom, 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 doom.
Yep.
And all that stuff. I was like, that is freaking amazing. Damien Rice started me out, but I was just gonna do acoustic, but when I heard, and I'd heard a lot of Bill Withers' song, but when I heard that song, I was like, that is what I want. You know what I mean? That is what I want. That's like, that is so badass. And so I just been like, I got to do. That's all my songs have it. I was like, some songs, like we have a song on the album where it's the new album Gray, it's called Something Borrowed, Something Blue, and I picked up the electric guitar, and we're rocking out. But it's very far in between. And that's another thing I wanted to do with this band. I was like, let's say I do want to rock out. Like with Seven Stones, when you have a name of a band, for me, it seemed like when you have a name of something, Seven Stones, they expect that type of music. If it's
Hmm.
Ray Prim, it's whatever I want to do. You know, it's like if I want to get country, if I want to do a country song, I do a country song. If I want to do a rap, well, no, I ain't
Yeah.
gonna do no. I can't disrespect rap. I suck at it. I just I don't understand. The thing is, I don't understand why I'm not good at it. I was like, I practice, and I still have this weak Chuck D 1990s flow. That's just like my lyrics are good, but my delivery just sucks. I don't understand it, man. I just
Well, at least you can acknowledge it, or maybe you're even over sensitive about your own style, but at least
oh
you can
no no no.
acknowledge it because
I'm not oversensitive.
God knows there's a lot of people that just have no idea how
Oh no,
how
I know.
broke their stuff is, their flow or their voice. I've known a few people over the years where maybe they're okay at lyrics, but just as soon as they start, the voice that is delivering the message is like,
Yeah.
okay, no, I'm sorry,
Man,
but
I know because I've got two brothers who tell me, and Tate tells me all the time, "Don't quit
there
your
you
day
go.
job." You know what I'm saying? You got
Brothers will
people,
take care of you.
your
Okay.
loved ones will tell you, "Nah, man, you
Yeah.
might want to stick to the." And at first, I was trying to find my voice too. I was like, it took me a while because I was like, man, you know what? I don't have an R&B voice. I wish I had an R&B voice. I can't really do an R&B. Um, and I don't have my voice is I say my voice is decent, right? And so how do I take a decent voice and still work with it and people will still want to come and hear it. So I got to figure out my sound. It's like I can't sing. At
Hmm.
one point, I think I was even singing like Jim Morrison, trying to sing, the
Hmm.
day. I was trying to do that in the Seven Stones. It's like that ain't working. And then I was trying to look at these other rock bands. It's like, okay, well maybe if I sing a little bit like, and the King's X, he's the one I tried to mimic the most. Doug
Hmm.
Pinnick, and I was like, that ain't working for me. I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more. It's just whatever comes out, man. Just whatever comes out, feel comfortable with it. And it took a while. Like there's the first Seven Stones. People who, if you go listen to Seven Stones, and I guarantee you, you hear my voice then, you hear my voice now, you're gonna like, you know what? He did go on a journey to find himself, and I contributed to having to sing with Mexican Chocolate, who I think is the best singer in Austin, Texas. Singing next to him and being in his shadow, I was like, I gotta start. I gotta find my niche quick, or I'm just gonna be drowning under this fool. And so I just found what works with me, man. What works good with me, and we have a good combination. And I don't try to oversee. Like if there's a part where the note needs to be broken down, and all that stuff, I can't do none of that. Mexican Chocolate. He actually, and it's kind of funny, but he actually brings the R&B soul to my music. That's not me that brings it. I'm coming from, like, I sing like Bill Withers, kind of like a storyteller kind of thing.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's but it's coming. It's like realizing what's. I think that's the main thing people, they got to find themselves. Like what really works for you, and then do it. Like don't try to. That's why there's so many artists out here that sound alike. It's like like that one period where everybody's singing falsetto for like 1,000 years. It felt like 1,000 years. Every time a guy was singing, he was in falsetto. Every time, for every
Yeah.
song. I was like,
Hmm.
that's not gonna work. Every band was doing it, and then for the longest time, everybody was sounding like Eddie Vedder. And then remember when everybody sounded like the guy from Alice in Chains? I was like, oh
Yeah.
Lord, have mercy. Every time I turn around, so I just try to find myself. So I want people, like, you know what? When they hear my voice, they may not be like, okay, that's not great, but that's Ray Prim. I know that's Ray Prim. You know, the way he sings, that's Ray Prim. The way he delivers lyrics to Ray Prim, that's a Ray Prim melody. So that's what I tried to do, man. Took
I'm
me.
really glad you said all that because I was going to ask you about your voice, and where it comes from, and I'm like I mentioned earlier, I'm really interested in where these things come from in artists, and I have a similar arc of finding a voice because I was a late starter, just like you. You were a very
Yeah.
late starter. I
Mm-hmm.
started. I didn't start singing really at all till I was 20, and I was really bad when I started. But I knew that I knew what I had the people I wanted to sound like. There were a lot of different people I wanted to sound like, and I was just going to say, all right, just start practicing like them. Just start singing along with them, and over time, you'll develop your own voice. But it
Yeah.
was a journey for me as well, and I think when you're in a situation like you and I, where we're searching for something, I think in a lot of ways that's a blessing because it keeps you active and unsatisfied and moving forward all the time, and say if, a lot of people, and this isn't always the case, of course, but if you're blessed with a good voice or you've been singing since you were a kid, I think there comes along with that can come a bit of um what's the word I'm looking for? Not stagnation, but kind of stagnation where you have the tools you need, and you're kind of content. You know what I mean? You're content. Everyone knows you have a great voice, and everyone says you have a great voice. So that chip on your shoulder, or that extra, just the need or the desire to take a journey within yourself and without yourself is not always there. So I've always felt fortunate. It's always been a big thing for me, not only the enjoyment of the journey, but the insecurities I've always had as a singer. I've always been, until recent, in the last few years, I've been less insecure about it. But for a long time, I was just insecure about it. So I was always working on it, always like trying to find something better to use, or so. It really sounds like that was kind of similar for you, which is cool to hear. So kind of closing this thing out, Ray, I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, man.
What do you have planned for yourself moving forward? Obviously, we've been in this for a while now, and it doesn't seem like it's going to relent for a little bit. It seems like the cases are higher than ever, and it's going to be a little while. So what are you thinking for yourself, artistically, over the next 6 to 8, 12 months?
I'm working on a new batch of songs. I've got demo wise, I've got 9 in the tank, and so we're just fleshing them out. Man, the only thing you can do is keep saying. I just started a song today because of the whole the news about Biden. Because I remember I wrote a song. We have a song called "To Whom It May Concern," and that was for Obama. And so, I've written, it seemed like I've written a song for each president. So I was like, I want to write something for Biden. And I think that's what I'm going to do, man. I'm just going to keep writing and then try to see what happens. Just like the places that I play, I don't feel confident going into like, I played the Saxon Pub. I don't think the Saxon Pub is going to open anytime soon. It's such a small area. I don't see how we can make money if we did go there, because how do you social distance the Saxon Pub? Have like 12 people in there. I've got 8 people.
Yeah.
We'll be half the 75% of the audience. So and then when the one bar's closing, Continental Club where we play, I haven't heard anything about that place opening. The Fire Lounge asked me to come out. There's a place called the Fire Lounge asked me to play, but I can't make money right now. I don't know if they're charging. I don't think they can charge. I don't think they're charging tickets, and it was a good amount they were asking, but it just wouldn't be enough for 8-piece band. I can't have people walking away with like $50 and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. That is a great question. I'm just gonna keep writing and pray that somewhere by the middle of the summer, sometimes things open back up. If not, all I can do is keep writing music, man, and try to work on other people's stuff. I've been trying to get people to send me their stems so I can, once you practice, because you know how it is. You practice on your stuff so much. I was like, okay, I got it sounding like mine. Maybe I want to mix somebody else's stuff and please them and learn how to take it to another level. They might want something different. That's how you learn doing other people's stuff. And nobody trusts me. Nothing. I've asked like 7 of my friends, hey, send me your stems. Oh yeah, okay. I'll send them to you. Nothing. I was like, I told this guy, I told the guy, Angel, and Angel, if you're listening, I hope you're listening. I offered, I said, man, just send me your acoustic guitar, you playing to a track, and your vocal, and I'll put everything else around it. I said, I got the ability to do all that stuff, and it'll help you. I'll even make it to where you can put it on the record. And okay, yeah, I'll do it. Nothing. Same thing with Tom Meany. Now Tom Meany, I chased this fool for like 6 months. I said, Tom, because I love Tom's music. I freaking love it. And when you're working on something that you love, man, it makes it so much easier. So I love his music. And so he has this song he wrote with God dog it, she's gonna kill me. Oh my God, I went blank, and she's gonna kill me. Take this part out. Anyway, he wrote a song with Ali Tadros. He wrote a song with Ali Tadros called "Higher Than the Moon." Y'all go look that up, "Higher Than the Moon." And I was begging him. I was like, man, come on, dog. Let me work on this song. Please just come over to the house. And she's like, no. So finally got him over here. And the fool loves it. He loves what we did. He's like, now he's like, we got to work on an album. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I was like, come on, man, give a brother a shot. So I'm just trying, anybody out there got some stems. Now it takes me forever. I ain't gonna lie to you. Cause I have to program everything. But if you got something, send it my way and let me start practice, especially if you got live drums. Cause I need to start working on mixing live drums. But I think that's what I'm gonna do, man. Just work on producing some stuff and whoever can send me some stuff, and then just pray that we can get out of this thing and get back to playing some shows. I was supposed to play Fairville Folk Festival. I was supposed to play this Dreamland opening thing. We just did the Blues on the Green thing, but that wasn't. It was at Stubbs. It wasn't the big one. So hopefully they'll bring us back. So when they do the big one, but who knows when all this stuff is gonna happen, man.
Yeah, it's good. You make a good point about working with other people's stuff. I'm an avid practicer. I just love the process of practicing and writing, so I'll never stop doing that. But after 7-8 months of just hearing myself, I'm getting a little sick of myself. So I got to start. Yeah, maybe you make a good point. But yeah, I mean, and I'm also noticing, like, it's been very productive. But now I can kind of feel it in myself. I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to, and I'm sure all you and everyone else is starting to feel it now too. Where now it doesn't look like it's getting better for 6-8 more months, and we've already done 8 months of this. It's like I'm starting to feel it a little bit. Like I'm like, I gotta play, I gotta practice, but
Do you have a
like you
full-time
said,
job?
it's got.
Do you have a full-time job? Or you a
So
full-time
I've
musician?
been basically, like, for the majority of the last 8 to 9 years, there's been periods where I've been able to do full-time music. And then, but I'd say 70-60% of that I've done, like, music as, let's call it, like a 30-hour job. And then I've had like another 25-30-hour job, which has been mostly over the years has been coaching, working with kids and coaching soccer all across the city and stuff like that. And it was a really good day job for a musician, because it's just working with kids during the day. But I've been looking to get out of that. Basically, to answer your question, I'm going to be heading into a full-time arrangement very, very soon for the extended, for a long period of time. So I'll be in that realm very soon, kind of a more corporatized dynamic. So yeah, it's. But I for years I was able to balance it, and then if we have big touring season, I obviously just be doing music and stuff like that. So,
Man, I was having a
but
talk with
yeah,
it's actually, if you have I mean, what worked for me, and this might not work for everybody, but I found myself happier when it came to making music is when it wasn't my job, when it didn't have to keep
I
my
hear
lights
you.
on. So,
I hear you.
once I got a full-time job, and then I got down and sat down and write a song because I really wanted to, not because, man, I need to get something. I need to get out there. I'm not taking this gig. I got to play this restaurant gig because I've got my cable bill done. Once music was no longer about that, it was just about me being creative and expressing myself. That meant more to me. And I try to tell some musicians, like, that want to quit, I just want to get out there and just play. And sometimes it may be good for you, but you may want to think about, like, music ain't cheap either. There's equipment that you need to get. There's certain stuff you need to get. Like, that comes, a job can get you that kind of stuff. So unless play on the weekends or something like that. And then when the opportunity comes along and somebody really sees you, whatever, then maybe take a leap of faith. But I mean, I personally love having a full-time job and then playing shows that I want to play, that fulfill me. Because to me, I don't want music to be this. Like, when I was in seventh, that's one of the reasons I quit. It just felt like, damn, man, we gotta practice because we gotta do this shit. We have to take this show, but I don't want to play it. I don't want to play somebody's backyard, what you call it. They're paying $1,000. That's gonna pay our light. You know what I mean? It's like, and I can turn stuff down. I was like, I turn down more shows than I do that I play, because I don't want to do it, man. It's like I don't want to leave the house unless it's gonna help us further along, as far as like real publicity, or if it pays us, and the pay has to be a good experience. They have to be both with me, because if not, I won't play. I just don't.
That's great to hear you say that, and I've gleaned that from other people as well. and you know, I was looking to get into the full-time thing kind of before I was looking to get into the full-time thing before this COVID thing hit anyway, and now this has just made it official anyway. But yeah, I mean, especially being a band leader, as you know, it's like it can be such a grind, and it really
Mm.
turns into a nonstop grind. And so I'm really looking forward to having that, you know, 40-hour a week, not worrying about bills, and then just putting the fun level back up
Yes.
into all the music stuff. So for
I
sure,
think
I hear where you're
you're gonna
coming
notice.
from.
You're gonna notice a
I
difference.
think I will too.
It's gonna be like your escape from your
Hmm.
job. It's gonna make you feel good every time you play. You're like, oh yeah, this is exciting. And everybody in my band has full-time jobs, so they all got that
Hmm.
same feeling. So when we went together, it's energy, because yes, we're making music. We don't have to worry about our stuff, and then we can put all our emotions and stuff into that. Um, you know, they tell you to get out and tour, and that's a good thing. But I mean, nowadays, can't you do? Most people play their stuff. You can do a lot of stuff on the internet as far as building. And when I do play a show, I strongly believe in promoting. So I promote.
Hmm.
I work my ass off when I do have a show. So as far as getting the word out and getting people out and stuff like that. So and the
Yeah,
crazy
and
thing is,
like you, I did the years of touring, and I'd like to get back to it someday, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. That's for damn sure. I mean, this is going to be a 2 to 3 year at least, you know,
I
backlash
think
from
so
all
too.
this. So we'll see.
I think so too.
Well, Ray, thanks for everything, man. I really enjoyed talking with you,
Thank
and
you for having me,
look
man.
forward to look forward to hearing more of your stuff coming out. Sounds like you got a lot of stuff on the cooker, and I
Yeah.
wish you the best of luck moving forward, my friend.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, Ray. We'll see you around, buddy.
All right, man.